Thomas, is welcome. Thank you, Tony. So we want to know, so we have Kasir appointed without wasting much time. And we just request Father Kasir to speak to us on the life and work of Reverend Dr. S.J. Anderson. We have about 30 minutes and we can try to.
In Caesarea Philippi, 2000 years ago, Jesus asked a question, who do people say I am? So, just now, the first part of my talk, I'm going to talk about S.J. Antonisamy, what others say. Then Jesus asked, what do you say about me? That is where my job is. I'm going to give my impression about S.J. Antonisamy, how I view him. So 15, half an hour. That's a lot of time, I guess. Thank you for giving me that time. You know, many people say what other people say about S.J. Antonisamy. Teacher. I've been interviewing about 10 people for the past 1 week. When Arul Roy, father, he called me in Australia last month and told me that you talk about S.J. Antonisamy, your experience with him and his achievements, so on and so forth. And I told, okay, Arul, thank you for informing me much earlier. I had enough time to interview many people. Every one of them told he is an excellent teacher. You know why he is an excellent teacher? Because he makes the students very comfortable in the classroom. He makes you to watch him, and also he watches with compassion. His own sister was telling us he's a compassion-filled human being. So you see compassion in him. Whenever he comes to the classroom, some people are afraid, naturally, but over the few months, everybody is very comfortable and he talks and you listen. And such a great friend of everybody in the classroom. And he brings a message to you very close to your heart. Actually, he is the expert on St. Mark, you know, and also he had authority to teach. That is the main thing. That's why he became the greatest teacher. He had authority. And you know, the first gospel ever written is St. Mark, you know. And all the gospels, especially Matthew and Luke, they borrowed the material from Mark. So he went to the source. So when you go to the source, you don't have to depend on anybody else. All the mystics do that. They go to the source in order to verify. Also, Father, just now, Ubaldo was talking about he translates the Bible from the Greek source. So that is the ultimate. So he has the authority in teaching. And also, he is a maverick when he talks. And also he is very expert in many languages. He can talk Greek and he can talk Hebrew and he can interpret. And students are completely spellbound. Where does this authority come? Where does this knowledge come? It came from Waterloo. All the way. You know, Waterloo is a small village like Capernaum. And also they have a Sea of Galilee, the Bonnet lake resembles like Sea of Galilee. All the family members are teachers. You know, his father was a teacher. He has learned everything from him. I don't know, he must have been a teacher for 60 years. But here, S.J. Antonisamy was 40 years a teacher and also an excellent teacher. The second thing what I heard was, he is an exorcist. That is unusual. You know, exorcist means it's not like a Hollywood exorcism I'm talking about. You know, the latest movie from the Vatican, Pope's Exorcist, what is that? Starring Russell Crowe. You know, it features the superstar called Gabriel Anoff. That is the Pope Benedict's personal exorcist. And he is the Vatican exorcist. And his life history portrays. You know, Ambrose, Father Ambrose, the Gabriel Ambrose, the Vatican exorcist, he puts it so bluntly. Ignorance is a possession. Anger is a possession. Greed is a possession. It needs to be exorcised. So that is what it says. In the seminary, Father Altonisami, he removes so much of ignorance. So much of ignorance. He gave wisdom. And he liberated people from anger, prejudices. You know, when the seminarians come to the seminary, they come with many demons, you know, because we are possessed in the villages. We are all possessed individuals when we come to seminary. And somebody needs to chase out all devils. This is the biochemistry what we have. Our biochemistry is covered as we come into the seminary. But when we go back, if you go in the same condition, what is the use of it? What is the use of it? Today, palaces are better places. Our mission field in Tamil Nadu looks good. You know why? Because there was somebody here. He dealt with the personal life of each and every seminarian. And he removed all those demons and he sent them to preach the good news of salvation. In the seminary I studied under him in 1971, 72, I was learning Latin. What Latin I learned? Yeah. He used to teach me Agricola, Agricola. I used to say Agricola, Agricola. Then he told Polaya. My God, this seminary would never make a priest. He kicked me out of the seminary. So I was so happy when he put me out of the seminary because I didn't want to become a priest anyway. I was waiting for a loophole to escape from the seminary. So happily I went home. But unfortunately, Bishop thought that I would make a good priest. They brought him back, and again I'm back to the seminary. He not only threw me out, also, you see, at that time, I'm a Telugu. I thought this man is going to really love me. But Anthony is not that type of person. No partiality. No partiality. There is nothing. You are a little thing. It doesn't mean anything for him. And also, not only he kicked me out, his own brother, Alphonse, he kicked him out too. So both of us made a coalition in the seminary, and then we wanted to give some trouble to Anthony Sami, but yet he kicked both of us out. So, but anyway, I met a priest, and his brother is a good father indeed. I'm a father too, he's also a father. It's all right, ultimately, at the end of the day, everything turns to be good. So, the third one is, Anthony Sami was a healer. Everybody talks about the healing ministry. And you know, there are 3 levels of healing. He envisioned. One is our relationship with God. Of course, Mark and Gospel gives him so many beautiful insights. Step by step, our relationship with God. The second is our relationship with the fellow humans. The last one is our relationship with the whole of creation. So these are the 3 tires on which his healing ministry was exercised. And you know, the Gospel of St. Mark, everybody is included. Where we talk about the kingdom of God, that concept comes in. Everybody is included. But in order to call the kingdom of God, we need to include God in the center. You know, here, this is the kingdom of God. You look at here, the stones are here, the biotic factors and the biotic factors. That is the kingdom of God. The non-living and the living. Only two factors exist in the universe. Nothing else. Wherever you go to multiverse, you go to universe, you go to planet Earth, you stay in Sacred Heart College, microcosm, macrocosm, only two things. Abiotic and biotic. See here? Abiotic. The wind is there, the light is there, stones are there, water is there, fire is there, and also life is here, plants. There are insects here and humans, but here it doesn't make a kingdom of God, but you put God in the center. Yeah. There is somebody in charge of the biotic and the biotic world. Many people think there is no copyright. We can do anything with anything. No. There is somebody who is in charge. He defends them with justice. Earth belongs to God. So there, Father Anthony Swami, he was preaching about the kingdom of God to everybody. There are 13 incidents in the Bible, Mark and Gospel, that includes everything in the kingdom of God, between children, the prostitutes, and the sower, the soil also. You know, in the video you saw, S.J. Anthony Swami was talking about, the Jubilee year needs to give rest to the non-living entity. Not only, you see, God's love and compassion goes not only to the biotic living. We always love only human beings worthy of God's love. But now Pope Francis has loved us, puts it so beautifully. You go to nature, without nature you can't exist. You know, Pope Francis, he also talks about the three relationships. The prayer of number 66 of Laudato Si. Brilliantly, he writes. And at last he writes in paragraph 240, so beautifully, the vital importance of these relationships. He states that human person grows more, matures more, and even sanctified more to the extent that he or she enters into relationship, going out of themselves to communion with God, humans, and the rest of creation. Wow, that is what Anthony Swami mission is all about. You know, the seminary he taught you, at the same time he sent you to experience the kingdom of God in the parishes. During his time, remember, seminarians go to the parishes, and also there are groups that lived in a community in the kingdom of God. So his theology is not only academic, his theology was very practical, very practical. And the last one, I would say that, just a second, we discussed about teacher, exorcist, healer, miracle worker. When he took the seminary, miracles, the rector was giving away so many beautiful insights, how Rome came. I was spellbound. People can goof up when transition takes place, you know. Salesians, there were many seminaries, they produced priests, but many people during that time, my own classmates were kicked out because they went to see the movies. One of my friends. And some of the seminaries were kicked out because they were hungry, they went and stole little bread from the refrigerator. Those kind of stories abound. But during S.J. Anthony Swami, the diocese took over, completely different. Compassion, love, understanding. That is what the seminary experienced. And the seminary saw glory in those days. And complete theology was exalted. It was not a bookish theology. It was a very practical theology, contextual theology. You know, the liberation theology came at the time, remember? And S.J. Anthony Swami was in a hot soup at that time, because that is the time we never understood what is liberation theology was. because Pope John Paul II was really putting very hard on liberation theologians and Antonisami. That is what the students were talking to me yesterday. Those are the times, tumultuous times, but Antonisami had the balance to implement liberation theology in the seminary. Then he made a statement that what is allowed by the Bible to go for freedom, that was allowed, not outside the context of the Bible. Everything was compared to the biblical exegetics. In that way, liberation theology was feasible. So that was Antonisami. What other people say, many things, but I don't have time. So what do I say? That's what Jesus asked me. What do I say about Antonisami? Yeah, I have a little bit of experience with him in Rome, of course, the minor seminary, and Rome. He told me that when he saw me in the room, that's what So he was so happy and proud. He was very proud that I met in Rome. So in Rome, whenever he wanted to buy something, he comes to me, Rayappa, you are the kind person to select any tape recorder or guitar. Why don't we go and buy? My selection is huge. It is high level. I take it to a big store, show the fancy stuff, and then he goes around and sees. At last he comes and picks up a very puny tape recorder, only a small Walkman. I was spending for 8 hours doing research, but he comes and picks up a small tape recorder. He was not believing, he was not empty inside, he was not filling things to feel full. I mean, he was already full. So he was full of knowledge. He was not for the material things at all. And 2018, I attended a retreat preached by S.J. Antonisami on discipleship. I think every one of us know what is discipleship is all about. At S.J. Antonisami, he preached in Pundi. That was the first time I had an opportunity to witness him first hand. I thought, wow, what an interpretation of a discipleship. Unbelievable. I thought a disciple, a parish priest, top down. I preach, you listen. But here Antonisami was preaching, based himself on St. Mark, bottom up, service. In this book, Father Arulraj gave me this afternoon, chapter 13, if you read, my God, the best insights on discipleship. So it is not the glory, it is just a pain, a suffering. She was talking about the suffering. For others, we become servants, losers, Vaidika, Lusaya, Kenosis, that kind of teaching. கடவுள் தன்மையை விளங்கியவர் தன்னையே விடுமையாக்கி சிலுவையில் சேர்த்து லூஸ் ஆகிறார். That is what the theology is all about. நீங்கள் லூஸ் ஆனீங்கன்னா அதோட பெரிய theology எதுவுமே. The best theology because Jesus himself became loose for the sake of others. For us, this is not the sermon I preach. You know Michael Augustine Bishop? He preached that sermon in the Cathedral of Pondicherry. நான் ப்ரீச் பண்ணால் இறங்கி படிக்கிறேன். மைக்கில் ப்ரீச் பண்ணால் ஹோட்டல் எக்ஸாம் ஒரு டீச்சிங்னு சொல்லுவேன். இதுதானே பார்த்தேன் நான் கொஞ்ச நேரம் அப்படியே பார்த்து இன்னும் ஒரு டேரக்டி பேசுகிறாங்கன்னு சொல்லி பார்த்தாங்க. மைக்கில் அரிசினா கொஞ்சம் லூஸ் ஆகிட்டாங்க அப்படியே. அப்புறம் it was a mistake to me. Unbelievable mistake. அதாவது அவர் he had understanding of everything in a deeper level. people. Mystics. So higher self, they are okay. The lower self எல்லாம் கிடையாது. அவங்க mistakes, they are not at all excited. You see Abdul Sami? He never got excited about anything, not even a tape recorder, not even a guitar. By the way, he gave one of the guitars to me in Rome. Prayapa, இந்த கண்ணாடியிலே வச்சுக்கோ, இது எதுக்கு சும்மா வீரா செமினேரியே நீ ஒரு பாயிண்ட் அடிச்சுருப்ப இந்த present this guitar to you. ஒரு கிட்டார் கொடுத்தார். அந்த கிட்டார் வந்து நான் பழைய பிஷப் சவுந்தர் எங்கள் பிஷப் வேலூர் அவரும் கொடுத்தார். ஸோ அவர் வந்து இஸ் கம்ப்ளீட்லி mystical life he led. You know what? Many people think, why he didn't become a bishop? Everybody. இப்பேற்பட்ட ஒரு மாபெரும் மாவீரன் அதை பிஷப் ஆகும். Yeah. That is a question even today, lingering in every heart and mind, even in me. He was a mystic. Mystic don't see this. They have a value. No value in this. We people like a smaller self, they see value in the bishop. You know what? The understanding of Ejjapur Swami, Imago Devi, the image of God, is the paramount importance. Nothing else. That is the God's title. He would never settle down for human titles like holiness, excellency, eminence, grace, reverend. No way. No way. Because what these human titles are in front of image of God. Image of God is the ultimate title conferred by God Himself to every human being. That makes us 8.5 billion Imago Dei. They are you and we are Imago Dei. We don't need any human titles. That is the understanding of Ejjapur Swami. Only mystics can get that. So I hope all of us will become mystics to see the reality. I hope so. The third one is he was a esoteric. That is the word. You know what? Only few people can understand. That is the kind of theology he had. Not all. But when he goes to the parishes, he can impart the whole knowledge to the people. ஒன்றாம் கிளாஸும் மேடமும் ஃபாதர் சொன்னார். பெரிய PhD also able to grasp him. But there are certain ideas only he and only few people can understand. You know, Ejjapur Swami, 40 years in the seminary, he could have made a small mistake and become a heretic. It's a long time being in the seminary. You are risking your own identity. Sometimes you can be a heretic. So be careful staying in the long term of the seminary. But I don't know how Father Alphonse here, long time, but he is not a heretic. But wonderful people here, yeah. But you know how to trend in values. That is where Anthony Swami had. He could say some esoteric ideas and get away with that. The other day, in the retreat, he told, you know, Mark Gospel ends with women freaking out. That is chapter 15:8. Freaking out. The man who says, women, go and tell to the disciples, to the whole world, that Jesus is not here, he is listening. But the women, so afraid, and they freaked out. That is the end of the gospel. There was no preaching. No proclamation of the resurrection, according to Mark and Gospel. Theologians say only the Son of God in the first, when he got the baptism. That is a proclamation. And then, the transfiguration, Son of God. God says, that's a proclamation. The last one, the Gentile centurion, he proclaims, really, he is the Son of God. So that is the ultimate proclamation, but the women, they didn't have to do that because already he was proclaimed Son of God. Women are very smarter than men, you know. So here, Anthony Swami puts it beautifully. He expands the Gospel of St. Mark. He says, you know, the best disciple is Mary, our mother. What the women did not do, if somebody accuses of omission by the women, Mary fulfilled. And he called the apostles, he called the early church, and then she proclaimed. He asked the disciples to go and proclaim the good news of resurrection. So Anthony Swami calls Mother Mary disciple par excellence. The best example of discipleship is Mother Mary. Wow! Pope Francis should hear that, Pope Benedict should have heard that, and Vatican should hear that. That is the ultimate statement. Nobody can call it a heretic. It is very, very theological. Only Anthony Swami, people like Anthony Swami, can do that. So that is esoteric. Suffering servant of Yahweh. You know, Isaiah 52. Who is the suffering servant of Yahweh even today? No biblical scholar can identify who is the suffering servant. It's not even Jesus. Many theologians, Jewish theologians, think that Israel is the state. That is the suffering servant of Yahweh, the state of Israel. But many people think that each and every individual here sitting, those who suffer, that is the suffering servant of Yahweh. So the understanding of Father Anthony Swami, he really suffered the last moments, coronavirus. Everybody has to suffer. There is no escape from that. Suffering is a resource. It is not something to be shunned. It is something through which you are transformed beyond your own self. That is how you transform, you become more complex and complex. So he suffered enough. Even the suffering servant of Yahweh he experienced. And today, climate change and everything is happening. What are we going to do with suffering? These seminarians, look at them, look at their faces. Look at their faces. They are going to talk about suffering. Only about this suffering that vanishes when you become Christian. One is how are you going to talk about it? Today, announcing the good news of salvation is all right, but announcing the good news of adaptation is the one way to tackle the climate change. Adaptation. You know, the great naturalist Charles Darwin put it so beautifully. You know, the origin of species, he writing in 1856. His quote is brilliant. It is not the most intelligent that survives. It's not the most strongest that survives. It's the most adaptable to the change that will survive. Yeah. So I think you need to educate yourself. What is adaptation? Jesus adapted. He showed us how to adapt in life. Sin, virtue, everything is about adaptation. So something servant of Yahweh is going to happen. At the same time, we can liberate ourselves through employing the adaptation process. The last is the great eagle, Ezekiel 73. Many people like Anthony Swami are conferred with an epithet called the great eagle. You know the great eagle? We saw eagles, they fly high. They see whole truth. They are smart, they are full of strength, and they are very insightful. So that is what the epithet is all about. You know, in the past, Cyrus the Great and Nebuchadnezzar, and one more, Darius the Great, Maimonides, one Jewish philosopher, excellent philosopher. These people are, even Francis of Assisi was conferred with this grand title, the epithet called the Great Eagle. So I think H.A. Kursami is really fitting that we confer that title, the Great Eagle, because he has seen the past of this seminary, present of the seminary, future of the seminary, and he has a vision of an eagle. Finally, I have to say, with all that attributes I given to H.J., at last I have to simply say, he was just human. Just human. Human with the potential though. Human with the potential. Mark 4:15. So beautiful, that sober parable. Jesus gives an insight there. He says, the seed is thrown in the human body. We are made of soil. Remember? That's why seed is thrown in the body of human. That is the insight we get. In Tolkapia, we say, the sixth land Jesus is identifying here. You are throwing the seed in the body of a human that makes us the ecosystem. The last is Manidan. All the ecosystems, they contain resources, but Manidan, what resources it contains? Ultimately, Aram, righteousness. Seek ye the kingdom of God and its righteousness, and everything will be added to you. So that is what Antony Swami is all about. Through him, we know what human resources are. In Fratelli Tutti, paragraph number 54, Pope Francis writes about human ecology. Each human person, Antony Swami gave his inner resources to heal the world, to fix things up, to make a better place. So each and every human person can make a big difference. It is not the technology, it is not the economy, it is not the politics, it is not the religion that is going to make a difference. At last, it's a human person with his inner resources of empathy, compassion, love, hope, charity. They are going to fix everything and fix all the problems of the 21st century. So to conclude, yet in the field of biblical scholarship, the contributions made by H.J. Antony Swami have made a profound impact on the area of New Testament, Christian origins, and Markan studies in particular. His ability to communicate clearly, to write accessibly about complicated subjects, to weigh the evidence, and to think carefully and critically about the long-held assumptions in the gospel made him one of the most influential Markan scholars of our time. Antony Swami, more than that, consistently disclosed his concern for biblical scholarship to be useful to the community of faith. He firmly believed that historical inquiry, knowledge, and sound scholarship would illuminate the text we read in ways that would shape belief and praxis. In his life and in his biblical scholarship, Father H.J. Antony Swami's contribution to the world of biblical studies cannot be overstated. He leaves behind a legacy of good and faithful work from which pastors, laity, and scholars will benefit for years to come. Thank you.
So, sisters and brothers, so we're very happy that Brother Kasiyappa has been a wonderful teacher, we know that, and we have experience, and his experience is sharing what do others say and what he says about Father H.J. Antony has been this has been very, very beneficial to all of us, and I think it is sharing has been very fitting on this inaugural day. And I also have a lot of things to share about Father H.J., but I think we have time. Let me just say a few things which others have not touched upon. See, I have anyone who knows Father H.J. Antony Swami will always have something very personal to say. And it all begins with the person of the Islam.